today. How can I register my POS with CAC in Nigeria? So I've actually gotten this question a lot from a lot of my followers across all social media platforms, and that is why I decided to discuss it today during the live session. So please, if you can hear me, just let me know in the comments. Drop a emoji sign. Let me know that you can hear me loud and clear, so that I can proceed. Let me know in the comments that you can hear me loud and clear. Let me know in the comments. Just drop an emoji sign. Okay, great, great. Thank you very much. And if you are here to like the session, please like it, so that other people will also get to benefit from this session. Please like the session. Start liking the session now, so that other people too will benefit from the session as we proceed. So please like the session. I want you to start liking the session now. I've not seen you like the session yet. Like the session, please, so that we can then start in earnest. So it's going to be a very interactive section. So what we would do is this. So I would run through my I'll first discuss what I have come to discuss today. I will talk through my points. After I finish talking, then I will take questions from you. So as I'm speaking, please feel free to drop your questions in the comments. When you drop your question in the comments at the end of the session, then I would come back to answer the questions. All right. So please, okay. So um, around November this year, the House of Rep actually carried out an investigation, and then they raised concerns over the surge of fraud. And most of the fraud incidents they found that was actually linked to POS operators operating in Nigeria, right? So the House of Rep has concluded that POS terminals are now a popular cash source for businesses and individuals, right? And because, and of course, the fees on, even though the fees on ATM is lower, a lot of people still prefer to use the POS. So the question is, are people committing fraud also taking advantage of this of the accessibility of POS machines? So that is one of the concerns that has raised these issues. So the House of Rep actually, the other committee on economic, regulatory, and security implication of cryptocurrency adoption in Nigeria actually raised this concern, and they've also raised the fact that the POS business has been infiltrated by unlicensed crypto-related activities. So according to the committee, they said they've received multiple reports of unregistered agents, of use of cloned terminals, of anonymous transactions without description or without a trace. You don't even know whose transaction it is. And then they also found out that many POS, many microfinance banks, right, that use out this POS, they actually do not get adequate KYC information from their customers. So this has aided financial cybercrime a lot and security breaches. So that is why the House of Rep actually made a shout, and then this also necessitated the CAC to then raise a sanction, and ECC has said that all POS operators must actually register with them, and any POS operator that does not register by 1st of January 2026 will be shut down. So the CSA actually released a public notice, and in the public notice they said they were going to send out security agents to actually seize POS machines of operators who are not registered. So this is actually and this is not the first time the CSC is actually calling that POS operators should come and register properly, right? This is not the first time. So I foresee a situation that come January 2026, the CAC would actually enforce this shutdown. They actually go out, send out security agents to actually confiscate POS machines of operators who are not registered. So it is very important that POS operators actually register their business, and that is why that question has been coming in a lot of times to me, and I felt it was okay to actually address the question and discuss that topic in details today. So to discuss the topic in details, I'll actually cover some very important areas, right? So please drop your question in the comments as I'm discussing, so that I can answer to them after the session. And if you are just joining us and you're led to like the session, please like the video, so that it can go out to other people and they can also join us. So why should you register your POS business with the CAC? Let's even start from that. So beyond the call by CAC and also the call by the House of Rep, right? So why should I actually register my POS business with the CAC? The very important, we should know that it's very important that any business you do, right, you try to formalize it, try to have some form of registration to cover it. It's important because number one, if you're a PS operator, when you register with CAC, it gives your business an official recognition from government, and it means you have a legal basis to carry out your operations. So it actually gives you recognition and legal coverage, right? So that's one of the very first important reason why you should register your POS with the CAC. All right. Another reason is that once you register your POS, it's easier for you to open a corporate bank account, right? And then you can easily access loans and other credit facilities from the bank. So when you're registered, it's actually very easy to open a corporate account. One of the requirements most banks require is your CAC registration, either as a business name or a limited liability company. So when you have your registration, it actually makes it easy for you to be able to open a corporate bank account. And then it gives you more credibility as a business. It gives you more credibility. For if you are registered with CAC, it increases your business credibility with your customers and your partners. And this can actually lead to repeat business and new opportunities for you. So you can see that it's very important to actually register. And then also, of course, to comply with regulators, regulators require that you register your business. For instance, CAMA, the Company and Allied Matters Act of 2020, mandates all business activities in Nigeria. Any company or anybody carrying out this activity in Nigeria is supposed to actually legalize, that's registered with the Corporate Affairs Commission. And then if you look at the CBN regulations too on agent banking, it also mandates that all mobile money operators should actually register with the CAC. So when you register your business with CAC, it actually helps you to avoid any legal penalties, right, and helps you to comply with government regulations. All right. It also protects against fraud, right? With the rise in fraud cases, you have to register your business with the CAC. It provides protection for you against fraudulent activities associated with unregulated POS operators. So a lot of those operators who are actually involved in fraud are not registered. So in order to remove yourself from that group, it's important that you actually register so that you're not wrongly classified as one of those that are actually perpetrating fraud with their POS machine. And also there's also a situation where POS terminals are being cloned, right? They are being cloned. So, but if you're registered, it gives you protection from being mistaken for the person operating or using the cloned terminal, right? So it's actually very important for you to register as a as a POS business, either as a business name or as a limited company. Then the next thing I want to discuss now is actually a question that is on the mind of a lot of POS operators. So when they ask me, should I register? Why should I register? And I tell them why they should register. And the next question they ask me is, so if I want to register now, should I register as a business name or a limited liability company? So that this question actually is actually not limited to only the POS operators or the POS business. It actually cut across all types of business activities. So a lot of business owners and entrepreneurs are always in that dilemma of deciding whether they should register as a business name or a limited liability company. So please, if you are just joining, like the session, and you can feel free to drop your question in the comments, and I will take them after the session. So a lot of the business owners actually are in that dilemma, in that same shoe of deciding whether they should register as a business name or a limited liability company. So I will start with business name first. So a business name is actually ideal for entrepreneurs who want simple, affordable, and flexible starts to their journey. So if you want a simple startup, right? You're just starting a business for the first time. You want something very simple, something affordable, something that is just flexible for you to start. You can easily tweak and make updates and amendments along the line, then register as a business name. So for a business name, there's actually fewer compliance requirements. So the compliance requirement for business name is fewer and it's easier to maintain, right? It's easier to maintain. It's the most common form of registration among small business owners. So if you are registering as a business name, you are one of the many people who are also running a business name. So a business name is good for sole proprietors. So if you are running your business alone, right? So for instance, if your POS machine is just owned by you and you are operating your and you are running it alone as a sole proprietor, that's only you, then you can actually just operate as a business name, right? So if you also have partners and you guys are not looking at something too elaborate, you can actually register as a business name. Then if you are just testing, you're testing the waters, right? Let me just see whether this thing will work. All right, then you can register as a business name. So you don't need to go into the full registration of limited liability company if you are just testing the waters, right? So just start with business name registration. And if you want something fast, you don't want so much documentation, and you don't want to incur too much costs on an annual basis, statutory fees and compliance fees. Statutory fees like your annual returns that you pay to the CAC, then preparation of audited accounts, filing of tax returns, and some other requirements that the limited liability companies are required to meet. If they want to get involved in all of those things, all of those costs, they want to incur on an annual basis, then you can actually register as a business name. So if you're a small, another reason is if you're a small business owner and you don't have, so you don't need to have any other shareholder, it's just you, and you don't want to put down any share capital, you don't want any formal company structure, then you can actually register as a business name, right? Then if you are just providing service like you are a fashion design sorry like a fashion designer, caterer, a consultant or artisan, right? like like most POS operators too, they're actually on a small scale, operating on a small scale like these people, right? So they operate, so most people maybe have one or two terminals, one or two POS machines, and they operate at that small scale, maybe an umbrella somewhere, and maybe in two or three locations. If that's the case, then you can actually register as a business name and not a limited liability company, right? So, and if you know that you're a small business, you don't necessarily need to have, you don't want to have you don't have so much personal or business liability, right? Then you can actually register as a business name. And the good thing about registering as a business name is that it gives you the opportunity, there's the opportunity to upgrade later, right? Or to upscale to limited liability company later along the line. So there's actually no need to rush into incorporating as a limited liability company. You can actually start small, and then as you scale, you then register a limited liability company for your business. Okay, so I will now let me now talk about. I've discussed business name registration, why you should actually consider business name registration. Now let me discuss what actually makes limited liability company registration worth it. So why some people also consider limited liability company. Let me discuss that now. When you register a limited liability company, it gives your business a stronger legal foundation. So the legal foundation with LLC is actually stronger than that of business name. And it also provides an avenue opportunity for you to actually grow long term into the future. So it gives you that growth potential, that long term growth potential, because with limited liability companies, actually no limitation. So you have access to a whole lot of more opportunities than the business name, right? So, but the thing is, the initial cost, right, of registering a limited liability company is actually higher than that of a business name. So, so it's important that we also know that. But there are many advantages, right, of setting up as a limited liability company or upgrading to a limited liability company. The first and most important one is that it separates the business owner from the company. That's the most important and the first benefit. It separates the business from its owner. So the company actually exists as a legal entity. So this provides protection for your personal assets. So if there's any issue with any issue such as liquidation of the business, then your personal assets will be protected. So you won't lose your home in the process. You won't lose your savings. You won't lose your investments, right? So all the business debt and its the legal claims will be settled from the assets owned by the company. All right. So when you set up as a limited liability company, it also provides limited liability to all the shareholders. So what this means is that the shareholders' risk is actually limited to the amount of share capital that they invest in that business. So this is similar to the first one. So the liability is limited to the shares they invest. So no debtor or no creditor or bank can come to take their personal assets, because the losses of the business is limited to the share capital that they own. All right. So another reason why you should consider registering your POS business as a limited liability company is that it makes you ready for investment. So you are a ready business for investment. So investors can easily come and invest in your company. Normally, when investors want to invest in any company, what they look out for is companies that can sell shares to them, right? So for a business name cannot sell shares. It's only limited liability companies that can sell shares, right? So that means a limited liability company offers the opportunity for investors to easily come in, purchase shares, and invest in the business. Also, when banks wants to give loan, they don't give loans to business names, because they actually prefer to give loans to limited liability companies that has proper structure, and they can easily determine ownership, right? And also they can easily see the profit pattern of the business over the years. All right. So another reason why people register businesses as limited liability companies is that it provides professional credibility to the business. So most corporates, almost companies, and even government agencies, when they want to give contracts, or when they want to deal with any business, right, they actually prefer to deal with companies registered as limited liability companies, right? So that is why registering as a liability company actually provides more credibility to you as a POS operator. All right. Okay, so another reason is that for POS operate for limited liability company, there's business continuity. Business continuity is guaranteed. So what that means is that even if the owner of the business dies, right, another person can easily take up, or the other shareholder can continue to run the business. And if there's no other shareholder, another person can easily buy up the shares of the company and continue to run the business without the business collapsing. So that's another benefit of actually registering as a limited liability company, right? So it provides that long-term continuity. It provides opportunity for succession planning, right? And then it guarantees long-term stability. All right. Another reason is that for a company, you actually have access to more tax incentives, right, than what you will find for business name. So companies have more access to tax incentives. They can also declare dividends. Dividends are also tax exempt, right? So the shareholders can get dividends that are tax exempt. So this provides rooms for more tax planning for owners of limited liability company. And then it also there are many other incentives. For instance, small companies have exemption of from companies income tax if their turnover is not yet up to 100 million. So this is something that a lot of POS operators can actually benefit from, right? Especially those that um, are actually skilled beyond the micro level. All right. So these are the reasons many SMEs and startups are beginning to even upgrade their business name to limited liability companies, because they can see that there are more benefits, right, available to limited liability companies. And then as they expand operations and they seek investors, they also try to upgrade to limited liability company. So when you compare the CAC registration fees between both options, that's business name and limited liability company, you may think the cost is more upfront, right? But registering as a limited liability company provides you stronger protection and credibility in the long run. So, but we need to be careful here so that we don't just give blanket advice to everybody to go and upgrade, or everybody to register as limited liability company. It's important to consider your future plans. Consider, so when I mean skill now, what I'm trying to say is that, okay, if you are a POS operator and you have just one POS machine, right, and you don't have plans of getting more POS machines, then remain as a business name or register as a business name. There's no point going to register as a limited liability company, except you know that for sure you are going to be doing big numbers. Even though you are going to be doing big numbers, say for instance a 50 million turnover in a year, then okay, then maybe you can register as a company upfront, right? So, but if not, then just stay as a business name, and then you will still you will still be able to manage your tax exposure within the existing tax band, right, that's available to to individuals, right? So there are ways that even though you are operating at that level, your taxes may not be much when you compare it to the cost you will incur if you are already registered as a limited liability company. All right. So, but if you know you are doing your POS business big time, like you have like up to 10 POS machines at different locations, or you have 100, or you are doing it nationwide, you have agents all over the country, then why not go ahead to register as a limited liability company? All right, so I hope that explanation is clear. So I'll quickly go into. So please drop your comments in the drop your questions in the comments. I'll pick them up as when I get to the when it's time for me to answer the questions. I'll pick the comments and I'll answer them. If you have questions, drop them as well. If you are here and you have not yet liked the session, please like it so that it can go out to a whole lot more people. So now, so I want to now discuss how to actually register your POS business with the CAC. So we've talked about why you should consider registering as a business name. We've also discussed why you should consider registering as a limited liability company. So now let's discuss how to actually register your POS business with the CAC. And the good thing is that this registration, you can actually do it yourself, right? So you can do it yourself from the comfort of your home and get your registration done. So, but I would advise that you use an agent. It's always better to use an agent. So there are some things, right, that you actually which may actually be better to use an agent to help you because because based on their own experience working with the CAC, they know what things to do, what things not to do, and they can advise you appropriately and save you time, right? They save you time, save you from making unnecessary errors or avoidable errors, right? So the first thing, so let me for to register a business name, um, it's actually cheaper to register a business name, right? And business name is designed for proprietors, like I said, and small businesses. So, so if you are the only one operating your business, then you can actually decide to register as a business name. So, but there are some things that are very important that you need for that registration. Number one, you need to present a valid means of identification, right? So you need to submit a valid means of identification. So it can be your national ID, your name, your international passport. If you actually submit your name, then you can provide a copy of your international passport, your driver's license, or your voter's card. So you need any of these three IDs, right, for your registration. You also need to submit a recent passport photograph, so it will be uploaded on the portal during registration, right? So you need to submit an electronic passport, actually, passport photograph, not hard copy passport photograph. So electronic one is soft copy. You need to make it available. Then you will need to provide at least two names, two business names. So the main one that you want to use and an alternative one. So you need to submit two different names. You need to have that ready, and then you also need to provide this description of your business. So a description of the business you want to do. What's the nature of the business? You need to provide that explanation to the CAC. Then, of course, your business address. That's where you'll be operating the business from. You will also submit that information. You also need to submit the full name of the proprietor, right? Which is you registering the business, your date of birth, your phone number, your email, and your residential address. So these are all the things that you need to submit when you want to register for your business name. For limited liability companies, similar requirements. So for directors and shareholders, you need to provide the details of excuse me, you need to provide their details, right? So you need at least one director, right, to register a company in Nigeria now. And director must be at least 18 years old. He has to be older than, he has to be 18 or above to register a business in Nigeria. So you need at least one shareholder and then one director for your registration. All right. You need to also like the business name. You also need to provide at least two names, right, for your business. So you provide two names, and then a search will be done, right, and then a reservation will be done. So you provide two different names. So when you provide the two different names to your agent to go ahead to do a search on the portal to see if those names are available, right? So if those names are available, if the person is available, the CAC will reserve it for you. if the first one is not available, the second one is available, CAC will serve it for you, right? So, but in choosing names, there are some things that are put into consideration. I'm sure when you reach out to your agent, he would guide you appropriately and let you know what names can fly and what names cannot fly. All right. Um, then you need to prepare some documents. So your memorandum and article of association would also we also need to prepare it. So there are templates. CAC already has templates for your memorandums and article of association. So you can use those templates to prepare your memat and upload it to the portal. All right. So you need to provide a physical address as well for your business. So a physical address, a registered address, you need to provide address for your business. Then for most companies in Nigeria, there are minimum share capitals that has been set, right? So you need to meet up with the minimum share capital requirements, and then you need to provide a valid ID, like we did for business name, a valid ID, and your passport photograph, and then you need to provide details of your company secretary. So all of this can be handled by your agent. So both business name and company registration should be done on the CAC portal, right? So that is supposed to be done on the CAC portal. So you provide ID, signature, memo, all those information documents I said, actually provide them and they will all be uploaded on the portal. So the first step actually to registering a business, right, on the CAC is actually create an online account. So that's the first thing you need to do. You need to create an online account on the portal. So you can visit the registration portal and create an account. Once you create an account, it's your email and some other information you'll be required. You have access to the portal to actually register your business. So the first, before you go ahead, you need to first reserve your business name. That's the first thing. You need to first reserve your business name. That is when you do the search. So you type in the two different names that you have chosen for your company. You type in those names and you submit a request for reservation. It's actually 1,000 naira to do a name reservation on the CAC portal. So when you submit, the CAC will review it, and then once they review it and that name is available, you'll be allowed to register. The name will be reserved for you, and then you can then register on that name. All right. So reservation is 1,000 naira, like I said. So, but when you do a public search, you already see names that you already see the name you are using is exactly as it's close, is already it has exactly as a name already on the portal. You will see it, so you know you cannot use that exact name. So, but sometimes you may have um, names that have one or two of the words in your own name, right? So, but CAC will review it. If they feel it's too close or it's too similar, they may actually turn down that request and reject it. And if you also use names that are not allowed for companies, right, in your particular type of industry, they would also return it, and you have to do another reservation again. So this is where understanding the process comes in, because if you do another reservation again, it means you will pay another fee again to do another reservation. All right. So and then the next step is actually to complete this registration form. So once your name is reserved, right, then you can now go ahead to register to complete the registration form. So once what you'll be doing is that you would submit you what you do is that you then need to register a new business. So there's a registration tab on the CAC portal where you can click to register a new business. All right. So once you have entered the portal, an availability code will be provided to you. Once you have entered the portal, you can then go ahead to register your business. So you need to submit the details. So there are details, there are things that you need to submit on the portal. So informations like your business, your company address, description of business activity, owners of the business, the proposed commencement date of the business, all of this information you will submit on the registration form online on the portal. Then you'll be required to upload some documents, right? So scan copies of some documents. So I mentioned those documents earlier: your valid ID, your passport photograph, your memo. If it's a company you're registering, you need to upload your memorandum and article of association. You need to upload the IDs of the directors and shareholders, right? But you know that you need to be careful that all the documents you're uploading are clear and legible, that can be easily read by the CAC when they are reviewing it at the back end. All right. So why doing all of this? You need to also pay. You paying some fees. All right. When you complete your documentation and you are submitting the application, you will then be required to make payments for some fees. For business name, it's a flat fee of 10,000 naira. You pay it before submitting your application on the portal. Right. For companies, depending on your shareholding, right? So for instance, if you are doing a 1 million share capital, right, which a POS business would actually do 1 million, then your fee, your incorporation fee will be 10,000 naira, right? So that's the amount you'll be paying to register your company on the CSC portal. So it's same fee actually for business name and limited liability company. All right. So once you pay the fee is paid online. So you pay it online via remitter. Everything is actually very easy and seamless. So you pay online, you can use your card, you can do a bank transfer. Both of them works, either a card or transfer. It works well on the portal. So once your payment is successful, you will get a confirmation from the CAC portal. You will get an email. Your receipt will be sent to you as well, right? So and you will get an acknowledgement of your payment. So and then after this, what you then need to wait, right? After the application has been submitted, you then need to wait for approval, right? So, but before you submit, make sure you review all your documents properly, ensure that the documents are correct, right? So once they are correct, the CAC officer will review your application and your documents. The average processing time for online application is usually not up to between 1 and 2 weeks, depending on the workload they have at the CAC. So usually between 1 and 2 weeks, depending on the workload they have at the CAC. So most times, business names registration are often approved faster than company registration. That's what I've noticed in practice. You get faster approval for business names sometimes than you get for company's registration. So just keep an eye on your email or your portal, CAC portal. You will actually get a notification that your approval has been, your application has been approved. And if there's any query or any request for correction on your application, you would also get an email, or you will also see it on your CAC portal on the dashboard. All right. So after once approval is given, after 2 weeks, right, the CAC will issue you a certificate of incorporation or business name registration. So they will issue you, you will get an email, right, that your certificate is ready. Then you get an email actually in your email that the certificate is ready. Then you then need to go to the portal to download your certificate of incorporation. So they don't issue physical certificate of incorporation. They actually issue electronic copy in PDF format. So you then can download it and print it. So you have the opportunity to download it and print it. So, but if you don't do it on time, if you leave it for more than 5 days, then you will need to pay to re-download. So it's important that immediately you get that email, go to the portal and download your certificate. All right. So, like I said, CAC no longer issue hard copy certificates for online registrations. They don't issue hard copy certificate again. But if you really need an hard copy, then you can actually apply for the hard copy and they will make it available to you. But of course, it comes at a fee. All right. So typically, this process from start to finish, right? It depends on the type of business you're registering, right, and the documents you have submitted. So if you submit documents that are not complete or cannot be read easily, it can also affect how fast your registration is completed. So, but typically, like I said, business registration is comes faster. So sometimes it can be done in 3 days, 5 days, depending, right? So for limited liability companies, it can take longer. So, but max the max it can get to is 2 weeks. So typically, I've seen approvals for 5 days, I've seen 7 days, I've seen 10 days. So it just depends on the complexity, the nature, type of business it is, the workload that the CAC at that point in time, and the accuracy of the documents you have submitted, right? So those are the things that can actually affect affect the timeline for your registration. So the things that affect it again are errors, right? If you have errors on the registration form, you have uploaded documents incorrectly, or you don't have complete information, shareholders and directors, then it can actually delay the process. Then the volume of application also can also delay the application. All right. So what are the common mistakes that people make when registering with the CAC? So number one, the most common one is that people choose the wrong business structure, right? So many people register business name when they actually need to register limited liability company, and some people register limited liability company when they are supposed to register business name. So it's important that you know exactly where you play before you go ahead to do your registration. So like I said, if you are operating at the micro level, then register as a business name. If you don't have any plans to scale, you are operating small and you continue to operate small for a long time, then register as a business name. So, but if you know that you are going to grow, you're going to scale fast, and you have plans to actually bring in investors, bring in additional shareholder, then you can go ahead and register as a limited liability company. All right. And then some people also use prohibited names or confusing or names that or confusing names. So this also is a mistake you should avoid because it can actually result in it can actually delay your process and then it can make the application to be rejected. For instance, words like bank, federal, or government-related names will be rejected. So if you are registering and you're putting bank as your name and you're not a bank, you don't have a banking license, it will be rejected. So if you're having federal in your name, it will be rejected. If you're having corporation or state or names that are in your application, it will be rejected by the CAC. So you need to be sure or avoid using words that are restricted. All right. So another reason is if you submit incomplete or inaccurate information, right? So this is one of the areas in which we see most mistakes. Business owners will forget small details like addresses and middle names, right? And they provide mismatched supporting documents. So they provide documents that don't agree. They are documents that have different names, different addresses, and everything is just all over the place. So this can actually also lead into rejection of application or store the process entirely. So we need to avoid providing accurate information, right, and ensure that every field has been properly cross-checked before submitting the application. All right. So there are also sometimes that there are payment issues, right? You can have failed payments sometimes. You can have payments not incomplete sometimes. So this actually happens when there is network connectivity issues, either from your internet service provider or from your bank. So it can be either ways. It can be your ISP that failed, or even from the bank directly. So when this type of issues happen, then it can also stall the process. So, but what you can do is you make sure that you confirm your payment successful in the portal. So ensure you can refresh and be sure that your payment is successful before you end that process. So, but if there's any issue, then you can follow up quickly, right? So you can quickly escalate to get the issue resolved. So actually, the process is seamless, straightforward, and it can be completed in minutes if you actually have all the documents and you understand the system properly. So you can actually do everything in minutes. So, like I said before, the registration fees is actually fixed, right? It's fixed up front. For business name registration, you should expect to spend, if you are doing it yourself, you should expect to spend between 10,000 or 12,000. So you pay 1,000 naira for name reservation and 10,000 for registration itself. So, but there are also other charges that you pay on the portal, right? So give or take 12,000, let's say 12,000, right? Um, but recently there's also an increase. The prices have also been jacked up recently. I think in November, CAC reviewed their cost, and now some now it can be as high as 21,000, depending on whether you are doing it yourself or you are using an agent. All right. So for companies, like I said before, for a company it's a 1 million naira share capital. The corporation fee is 10,000, right? And then the other processing fees, right? And it can bring it up to 40,000 or even 60,000, depending, because you also have to pay stamp duties and some other things that comes with registration. All right. So it can come up to between 40 and 60,000, depending on whether you're doing it yourself. All right. So what would happen? So all these things you have said now. So if you decide also to register your POS business, what would actually happen? So of course, enforcement. So enforcement is coming by January 1st, 2026. The CAC is going to actually deploy security agents to enforce compliance. So they actually said they are going to go out and seize POS machines of operators who are not registered. They are actually going to shut down any unregistered POS terminal. It will be seized. They will seize it and they will shut it down. And the fintech companies, that's all those companies, OPay, Moniepoint, PalmPay, all of them that allows non-registered operator to operate, they are going to be blacklisted. So that means that even the POS operators will not allow you to operate your machine without proper registration. So this is gaining popularity now, and you can see that a lot of people are actually in support of the CAC on this move. The House of Rep is pushing this, the CAC itself is pushing this, and there's this body, Association of Digital Payment and POS Operators of Nigeria. They are also pushing this, and they want all POS agents and digital payment providers to actually register with the CAC. So of course, why they are pushing this is because they believe it will curb fraud and to enhance accountability in the rapidly growing POS sector. So they have advocated for better coordination with the CBN, with police. They are also going to involve police and the fintechs themselves. So they are going to also involve the fintechs in this enforcement. So it's very important that as a POS operator, you actually begin, if you're not already registered, actually begin to plan how you are going to register before 1st of January 2026. We have less than 10 days to the end of the year, and there's still a lot of time for you to actually start your registration and complete it before 1st of January 2026. So I'm going to stop here and take your comments and questions. Okay, I think you said a business name should be registered. Okay, so I'm waiting from the comments now. You said a business name should be registered if not doing more than 12 to 13 million a year. How did you come to that conclusion? Okay, all right. Okay, so I actually said 25 million. So, but let me just address what you have said. So, when I said 25 million, so I'm actually looking at because what they tell you to do, right? When you operate as a business name and you're making 12 to 13 million, right? Let me just use the example. You're using 12 to 13 million. So when you say 12 to 13 million now, I guess you are referring to profits, right? Right. So because if it's turnover, there's a different thing entirely, right? So, but let's work with profits. So if you are making 12 to 13 million naira profits in a year, right, as a business name, it means that you are most likely when LLC will not pay any tax below 100 million. Okay, so you are most likely going to, if you are making a 12 to 13 million. Okay, since you are using turnover, let me use turnover as well. All right, so 12 to 13 million turnover is about, that's just your sales, right? So for business names, they pay tax based on their profit or their net income. That's what they pay tax. So that's the income that the business owner makes. That's what they pay tax on, not the turnover. So but when we say 12 13 million turnover, it means that at the end of the day, if you are doing 12 13 million turnover, which is for POS, that's mostly your service charge and your whole. So you then need to take out all the costs that you incur to generate that income. So at this point, when you are doing this amount, the tax you'll be paying, right? If you are doing personal income tax, your tax will not exceed it will not exceed the band of say 21% per annum, right? And you can easily account for this tax and pay to the tax authority, to the state authority where you reside. So, but when you are registered as a limited liability company and your turnover is still this low, you are exposing yourself to preparation of audited financial statements on a yearly basis. You then need to also file tax computation on a yearly basis, even though you are not paying tax, right? Because your turnover is not yet 100 million, you still need to prepare accounts, right? For business names, you don't prepare audited accounts. It's not compulsory, right? So, but for limited liability companies, it's compulsory to prepare audited accounts. It's also compulsory to do tax computation, right? That you file with tax authorities. There are also other requirements. So, for instance, you need to also file your annual returns, right? And there are also other requirements that comes with operating as a limited liability company, even though your turnover is low, right? So it also comes with the obligation to file monthly VAT returns. Okay, no, sorry, that will not be included. Yeah, that will not be included. So, but this cost, the cost of audits, the cost of tax computation, and the cost of there are also other things that you also need to do. You also need to have proper corporate governance structure put in place because you are now a company. All of these costs actually can be so much that it will impact on your profits. So with a 12 million naira turnover, your profit may not be more than 1 million at the end of the day. So if you are paying auditors from that 1 million, you are paying tax consultants from the 1 million, what's left for you to run your business next year? So that's why we say it is not everybody that should actually upgrade, right? So if you are still small, doing a 30 million turnover, which we then have just into a profit of maybe 1 million or 2 million, and there's no point actually registering upgrading to a limited liability company, because the cost of all the compliance that you would then need to do would actually outweigh the benefits that you are getting from that registration. So that is why we always advise that when you are still small, just remain small. But by the time you scale properly, you can then begin to actually consider upgrading to limited liability company. So if your turnover hits 25 million and your profit is now say 7 million, then yeah, so you can actually upgrade. But at that point, your cost can accommodate, your profit cannot accommodate the additional cost you'll be incurring, right? So, but when your cost, when your turnover is still low and your profit is still low, it's actually better to just remain a business name. All right. So I hope that answers your question. Kafayat, you can let me know if you still have any other questions now. Okay. What of profits would you recommend for upgrade? Okay. What's profit? Okay. So the thing is, it's difficult to actually um, uh, recommend a particular profit figure, because at the end of the day, um, the cost of audit, cost of compliance is actually not fixed. It's also dependent on the type of your business, type of consultant you want, an auditor you want to use. So it's actually very subjective, right? So it's difficult to say to fix a particular figure. So, but at the end of the day, what people should do is to actually sit down and run a simulation of their business. So that's why you need a professional to work with you, right? So not just go ahead to register or upgrade, work with a professional, somebody that would handhold you from start to end. So the person will stay with you all through, and it can advise you and take you through at every stage of your business. So get a professional to work with you. He would look at your business, what you're currently doing. He will consider your turnover, consider your profit, consider all the other costs that you incur. Then he would look at what other additional costs you will likely incur by the time you upgrade, right? So this is based on your own business now. You can't have a blanket post advice for this type of situation. So we sit down with you, look at your business as a whole, and then look at the cost that you would actually incur, additional costs you may incur when you upgrade. So this is what will be used to do a simulation and compare and determine whether you should actually upgrade, or determine when you should actually upgrade, right? Also, but if you are not registered at all, it will just to determine whether you should register as a limited liability company or a business name. So, so I can't just give a particular figure or advice based on a particular figure. So it's dependent on your business dynamics, right? At the end of the day. So I hope that answers your question. All right. So if you can still drop comments and I will respond. Um, Okay, so so we still have 10 minutes to the end of the session. So we can see that it's very important to actually register our POS business ahead of the enforcement drive by the CAC. So if you have attended this session today, I don't expect that you're one of those that the CAC will use police, right, to seize their POS machine to force them to come and register. I don't expect that any of you that have attended today will be one of them. So you can also share this video after this session. You can share this session with your other POS friends or POS operator, any other POS operator you know that has not participated today. You can share with them so they can also watch this and get better understanding of what is required of them ahead of January 2026. Okay, what about a business of 30 to 50 million turnover? Okay, so 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 the thing is, okay, so let me just give you one reason why I don't want to advise a particular figure. So you can have two different businesses. One has a turnover of 50 million, and at the end of the day, his profit is 25 million. And you can have another business making that same 50 million, and at the end of the day, his profit is 1 million, right? So you can see, so you can even have another one that is making only 30 million turnover and his profit is 20 million naira. So it's difficult to actually advise what figure or profit or turnover you should actually upgrade. So again, it depends on, so you need to get a professional to work with you, right? That would advise you appropriately. We look at your operations, look at your performance over maybe 2 or 3 years, and do a projection of what your business will look like. And then on that basis, it can then advise you appropriately. So here, I cannot just give that advice blanket or on the figure that you should actually use or how you should actually go about to, or where you should actually register as register as a limited liability company. But if you can reach out to me directly, right, then I can advise you. Okay, allowable deductions for business name. Okay, so this is one of the reasons why people actually consider setting up a limited liability company. So for business names, they have limited deductions, right, for tax purposes. So for instance, for a business name, you are allowed to take deductions available to individuals. That is rent relief, pension deduction, NHF, NHIS. So all those mortgage interest, life assurance policy. So you can take those deductions. You can also deduct your business expenses. That's valid business expenses, not personal expenses now. So you can deduct your business expenses, right? So somebody will say that yes, even for companies, they can deduct business expenses. So, but the difference now is that for companies, they are allowed to claim capital allowance. They can claim capital allowance on the assets they use for the business. For business names, there is no such provision. So if you have assets that are used to run that business, you cannot deduct the capital allowance claims on those assets. So, but for limited liability companies, you can claim capital allowance. These liability companies also have the opportunity of getting tax exemptions, right? So there is this, sorry, tax credits. There is this economic development incentive that is available for companies set up as limited liability company. Even though the thresholds, capital threshold is very high, so but then it's available, still available to some companies, limited liability companies. So again, business names cannot take advantage of that incentive, right? So there are many other incentives available in the tax law that business names cannot take advantage of, right? So, but again, all these incentives have conditions attached to them. So, for a POS, for instance, there is no asset to claim capital allowance on. So whether you're a business name or limited liability company, that incentive is not available. It's a mute condition. So it's not available for you, whether business name or limited liability company, because POS operators don't have any major assets, right? So as a POS operator, you cannot get economic development incentive. So again, so whether you're a business name or limited liability company, it does not make any difference. So that's why I said you need the professionals to actually advise you. So don't just work with what is, don't work with news paper headlines. Don't work with what you see on social media. You need an actual professional that will sit down with you, right? Look at your books, discuss past performance, past operations with you, and then also project into the future with you, right? Using information that he gets from conversations with you, right? So it's very important that you get a professional to work with you on this. So you can reach out to me directly if you need such assistance or guidance. You will find my email in my bio here on YouTube. You will find it across my social media platforms. Send me an email and I'll be glad to attend to you or assist you or provide guidance, right? So depending on the level of assistance that you need, I'm available to provide guidance to you that would help you register properly and then will not expose you unnecessarily to additional legal costs, administrative costs, compliance costs, and all of that if it's not necessary for you to incur those costs. Okay. All right. So In the absence of any other questions, I want to appreciate everyone that has been here today. I can see you. Okay, you're welcome. You're welcome. All right, so you're welcome. I'm glad I was able to answer your questions, and thank you for everyone that has participated, for everybody that has liked the session, everybody that has dropped comments, everybody that has spent their time with us this evening. We do appreciate that giving us 1 hour of your day today. I know Sunday evenings are actually very important. It's when we all try to prepare for the week's work, and I know it's actually a very big deal getting you guys to join the session today. So I do appreciate you for coming. So let's be on the lookout next week. Uh, if God permits us, we will be here again. Even though I know it's the festive period and a lot of us will be celebrating. So, but let's see, what next week looks like. If there won't be any session, I will let you know in advance. So, but if there will be a session, then of course we would all be here again live by 7 p.m. So, thank you all for joining this evening. I do appreciate your time. So, if you have joined the session today, please make sure you are not one of those that your POS machines will be seized in January 2026. If you know any POS operator, I know there are so many of them around us. We have them as cousins, as brothers, as sisters, as neighbors, as family members, or that POS guy that you always withdraw cash from, right? Send the link of this session to him, let him watch it, or him or her, let her watch it, so that she will know, so that when you go there in January, you will still find her there, and she will still have business to run, so that her machine will not be seized. So send this video to them, let them watch it, so that they can do what they need to do the needful timely before January 2026. All right. So, we know government is now keen on. They are now very interested in compliance, and you know that whenever there's an opportunity to enforce and make people this scapegoat of people, they would actually not delay in doing that. And of course, so please, of course, don't be one of those that we use to as scapegoats come January 2026. It's the first month of the new year in January, so that is not when anybody should have their machine seized or have their business disrupted. So people should actually be able to start off the business for the year and actually plan for the rest of the year and not run after government agencies to get back their machine. When they take your machine, you really don't know where they will take it to, right? So you then need to start going around and around and around and around before you're able to retrieve it. So it's important that you do the right thing up front, right? And if you have delays in registering, right, it's better you just stay off. Don't go out to do anything until you have perfected the registration, right? And have a copy of registration with you. You can have it on your phone, soft copy, or you just print a copy and you put in your pocket so that when they come around, you can present a copy to them for them to see and they won't be able to take away your machine. All right. So I'm saying this and I'm stressing it because I know how it can be when your source of livelihood is taken away or when government comes to enforce or clamp down or shut down your business. I've seen a couple of businesses being shut down before in the past, and I know how it feels, right? So I don't want anybody who has been part of this today um, to actually go through that trauma or go through that process. So it's better that we register now, get registrations done before January. If you have not yet perfected, please be on the watch out, be on the lookout for the agents when they're coming around your area and ensure that you are not operating until you have perfected your registration. Please, please be on the watch out. All right, so thank you everyone for coming today. I do appreciate your time and I look forward to having you join the session again next week. All right. If of course if there won't be any session next week, I'll let you know up front so that you can also utilize your time properly and maximize your time next week Sunday. All right. So good night, everyone. Um, Good night. So please don't forget to share the link of this session with your POS friends, your POS neighbors, your POS brothers and sisters. Don't forget to share it with them and then also watch it. All right. So thank you very much. Do have a good night rest, everyone, and I wish you A Merry Christmas and Happy New Year in advance. Thank you.